from the KAKE Studios. This is KAKE News on your side at 6.
10 years ago today, a town a little more than 100 miles west of Wichita would be thrown into the national spotlight.
This is from the National Weather Service in Dodge City. They have issued a tornado emergency. This is very rare.
One of the most powerful tornadoes to hit the U.S. in years tears through the town of Greensburg.
It's not home anymore. We don't have a home.
A look back on the pain.
Our souls are broke, you know, but we are here and we're still alive. And I thank God for that.
And the destruction.
This town is completely just about destroyed. There's nothing left.
And in the middle of the devastation, something buried deep within this KAKE land town.
It'll come back. It will. It doesn't look like it right now with all the devastation, but it will.
Greensburg, 10 years after the disaster. Thanks for joining us. The town of Greensburg today marking 10 years since that deadly tornado. I'm Jim Grimes. KAKE's Deb Ferris is in Greensburg for our special coverage. And Deb, I guess it's been 10 years, a decade, but I guess a lot of people there still remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh, absolutely, Jim. We are live here at Big Well Park in the middle of Greensburg, Kansas. All of the people who are gathering here tonight remember that night, May 4th, 2007, just like it was yesterday. That tornado came through the town. It ripped apart everything. It was more than a mile wide, more than the width of the town of Greensburg. And tonight they're planning all kinds of events to commemorate that day. And those events will continue on through the weekend. But first, let's take a look back at that night.
Well, we're kind of playing watch and wait for the development of severe weather across parts of south central to southwestern Kansas.
It was May 4th, 2007. Outside, a calm and humid day. But as evening set in, conditions changed. Severe weather began moving through Kansas, setting up for the perfect storm.
This is from the National Weather Service in Dodge City. They have issued a tornado emergency. This is very rare.
It was just before 10 o'clock that night. A massive EF5 tornado was bearing down on the small town of Greensburg.
Very large tornado. Okay, I don't know who reported it which. We do. We have two tornadoes on the ground, Jay.
Greensburg took a direct hit.
You could hear the top half of our house start tearing up.
It was just quiet, and all of a sudden, poof, house just started flying apart in pieces.
KAKE storm chasers were some of the first on scene after the storm passed.
Where you at, sir? Hold on. I'm right. Okay, calm down. Where you at? He's all right. I got feeling again. I don't either.
Survivors crawled out of the rubble of what used to be their homes. The devastation was massive. 95% of the town was flattened.
This town is completely just about destroyed. There's nothing left.
There's no way anybody can fathom what has happened here.
The tornado was estimated to be 1.7 miles wide, wider than the city itself. 13 people were killed in Greensburg and in other nearby towns. At least 60 people were injured. City Hall, the school, and businesses all destroyed. But the people of Greensburg didn't give up hope.
It'll come back. It will. It doesn't look like it right now with all the devastation, but it will.
And the people there had so much hope that night. Even the night of the disaster, we interviewed so many people who said, we're going to rebuild. We are not going to let this tornado get us down, and they sure did. Now, that very night, our Jay Prater was tracking that tornado and that storm. He joins us live now with a look back.
This is the intersection of Sycamore and Wisconsin and Greensburg. In 2006, before the tornado struck, my wife and I came here. This was an antique store in what was a church. Gorgeous stained glass windows, all taken away on that night. The thunderstorm that produced those tornadoes, at last count, it was 22, stretching from parts of Kiowa County, Comanche County, Clark County, all the way into Ellsworth County. And out of those 22, only 4 were strong to violent. Let's recap those paths and show you how they presented themselves on radar that night. These are the big 4 tornado tracks. The EF5 damage-producing Greensburg tornado started just south of the Kiowa County line in Comanche County, was on the ground for 65 minutes before it dissipated in a loop northwest of town. Followed by the EF3 damage-producing Truesdale tornado. It too was on the ground 65 minutes, just missing Truesdale to the west. The Hopewell tornado, 58-minute duration on the ground, just missing Hopewell and dissipating south of Maxville. And then the Maxville tornado, which developed to the southeast of Maxville and missing St. John to the northwest, 24 minutes on the ground. Looking at radar that night, these storms in Oklahoma were dissipating, and then finally towards 8 o'clock, that is what will become the Greensburg tornado-producing thunderstorm. Some smaller tornadoes near Ashland and Protection, but the big tornado started to form around 9 o'clock. Here it is, approaching US 183, the impressive Hook Echo, and moving through town starting at 9:45. On the north side of town, that's probably the tornado and the debris lofted getting thrown out of the vortex. The Truesdale tornado starts to form. It moves to the northeast, followed by the Hopewell tornado developing and tracking towards Maxville. It dissipates, and then the Maxville tornado develops and moves to the northwest of St. John before it dissipates. That's reflectivity. In terms of velocity, green towards the radar, red is away. This is what would be the storm producing the Greensburg tornado. Notice the weaker circulations. Then this is where the circulation takes off as it rips into Kiowa County. Before it crosses 183, that's as high as this Doppler velocity product goes, moving through town. You'll see it move to the north, Hook, before it dissipates, and then here comes the circulation for the Truesdale tornado. It takes off, and then you'll see the circulation develop for the Hopewell tornado as it takes off towards Maxville, and then finally the Maxville tornado circulation developing, crossing US 50 and dissipating northwest of St. John. You know, I tell you, as a meteorologist, and you're watching that kind of display on a radar, it's gun-wrenching because you know what's probably happening at the surface, and our worst fears were realized that night. It is a beautiful day to commemorate what happened 10 years ago. Coming up, we'll talk more about the weather for the rest of KAKE Land. Deb?
All right, Jay, thanks so much. And so many incredible stories of survival from that night 10 years ago. We talked to one young mother who was home alone with her baby when that tornado hit. We met up with Kelsey Stroth yesterday and her son Jaden. He's now 10 years old. They live in Hutchinson, but she remembers May 4th, 2007 with clarity. Her home didn't have a basement, so she and the baby hunkered down in a walk-in closet and waited for the storm to pass.
Pretty soon you just start hearing the walls crack and baseballs coming through the window, and then everything went dark. All I remember is Jaden screaming and just the noise of everything falling down around us.
Coming up tonight on KAKE News at 10, the miracle that happened next. Hear more from Kelsey, Jaden, and their next-door neighbor who found them alive. Now, as you heard, this town decided it was going to rebuild after that deadly tornado wiped out nearly everything here. And this time it decided to rebuild green. KAKE's Chris Frank takes a look at that part of the story. He joins us live. Chris?
Of course, Deb, Greensburg had to rebuild with roughly 95% of the structures here wiped out by the tornado. But city leaders decided, let's rebuild environmentally green with sustainable energy and recycling and more. The thought was their ancestors harnessed the wind using geothermal and repurposed things, so why not do the same thing here? And so Greensburg's name is now associated with being a green community.
The idea was introduced of let's build back green for Greensburg. Well, then it was defining what really green was, and the misconceptions that we've had for years, and really our pioneering ancestors were the original green people.
And we used to spend $10,000.
Dixon says going green makes economic sense here. He says it's a good business case can be made for what they've done. So you'll see wind power being used extensively, as well as solar and some geothermal. The mayor says going green was the right thing to do, and he says if they had to do it all over again, they would go green. Live in Greensburg, Chris Frank, KAKE News.
Chris Chris, thank you for that. And of course, as you can imagine, a lot of people gathering here for the events tonight from all over town. And people are coming from out of town, out of state to remember that night 10 years ago. One person we've seen here who literally stands out, mostly because he's so tall, is the current mayor. He and his wife were affected by that tornado 10 years ago. The home of Bob and Ann Dixon was destroyed. Just like others in town, 10 years later, the Dixons have decided to rebuild their home.
I think about what we've accomplished. I think about what we've been through, and I think about what other communities have been through.
But that's not the case for everyone. Many Greensburg residents decided to leave town after everything they owned was destroyed. Hear from those people who decided to stay and rebuild. We'll have much more on that story coming up tonight on KAKE News at 10. And remember to stay with continuing coverage of the Greensburg disaster on KAKE News at 6 and then again tonight at 10. And of course, we will always remember the victims. We'll be right back. You know, right after the tornado here in Greensburg, so much attention was brought to this town that was literally wiped off the map. A lot of people came from all over the country to help rebuild, and a lot of the news stations from all over the country came to tell the stories. And one of the stories involves this couple, Roger and Jessica Harris. They were not here that night. They were in Pratt, but Jessica, your parents lived here, right?
Yes, my dad was the pastor at the First Baptist Church here in town.
Okay, and one of the big things was your wedding dress. Tell me the story behind that.
So we bought the wedding dress and we had it stored at my parents' house because obviously Roger can't see it. When I got the call, we were bowling and my dad said, everything's fine. We're okay, but the house is gone. And I told Roger and he kind of laughed at me and told me he was kidding. And I said, no, I don't think he's kidding. And so once I knew they were okay, I looked at Roger and I went, my wedding dress is there. And so I kind of freaked out for a second. But when we got to the house after the commotion of that, it was just hanging. We had a drop ceiling in the basement and it was hanging there still. It hadn't moved, hadn't dropped to the floor or anything with nothing on it. So,
you know, just one of those little miracles. And Roger, from there, this just went crazy. What happened next?
Well, I looked at the dress and I was like, oh man, now we have to get married, you know. But
they're still together, folks.
Well, after that, you know, we went ahead and planned the wedding and everything. And I like to go back to Scripture, and Scripture says, whatever God joins together, let no one separate. And in this case, let nothing separate. And so, you know, we knew that whatever challenge was ahead of us or whatever trial was ahead of us, and we've applied that to our marriage ever since, you know, we can go back to God for the strength that we need, and that's what we did.
And these two actually ended up getting married in New York City on the Montel Williams show because of this wedding dress right here. So what an incredible story. Thank you both for being here with us tonight. Another amazing story from the tornado of 2007. But of course, we still remember those who lost their lives. We'll be right back.
Now, your KAKE First Alert forecast with meteorologist Jay Prater.
Hi, meteorologist Jay Prater. We're live now in the Big Well Museum here in Greensburg. The whole history of the town is here, including the history of the well, but obviously the debris from the storm. Notice the clock, 9:46. That's when power failed as the tornado was churning through Greensburg. Now, in addition to the mementos of 10 years ago, this museum exists because of this. This is the Big Well, the largest hand-dug well, and it is a gorgeous museum. You can spiral all the way down almost to the water level, and they've even got a nice little scenic outlook up at the top. All right, let's talk about weather now. We'll go out live. Here's the weather bug sensor. 66 degrees. The wind's out of the northwest now 8 miles per hour. Look at all of that sunshine. Let's go around KAKE Land. Central Care Cancer Center in Hayes, it's 69 degrees. The wind's out of the north 13 miles per hour. Garden City Central Care Cancer Center, KAKE Cam, plenty of sunshine, 66 with the winds out of the north at 10 miles per hour. And Goodland, the Frontier Ag Camera Renterfield at 69 with the winds out of the northeast at 7 miles per hour. Mostly 60s. Yeah, we got 71 in Hill City, 70 in Salina. Awfully nice except for the breeze, still kind of kicking up a little bit. 21 miles per hour gusting in Dodge, 26 in Wichita, 25 Salina, also in Manhattan. Satellite radar combined, a few little puffies, little cotton balls earlier today. Notice how those are dissipating now that we're starting to lose the heat of the day. The storm system continues to move away. The RPM model, it's going to be a clear night and a delightfully cool to chilly night. And then tomorrow, mild with wall-to-wall sunshine. So for Wichita and south central Kansas, clear, chilly, down to about 44 degrees, and then tomorrow 74 the high. And that warming trend continues on the planter. As we get into Saturday, 78, 80 on Sunday, and then starting Wednesday, we'll bring some chances for thunderstorms back into the forecast. So quite a stretch of dry weather. North central Kansas will clear it out, chill it down to the lower 40s tonight. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, mild. Highs will be in the mid-70s. Here's your planter. 78 Saturday, 80 and breezy on Sunday, 82 Monday, Tuesday, and then here too, storm chances coming back by midweek. And across western Kansas tonight, the breeze will ease, will clear out the sky. Lows close to 40, and then tomorrow highs, mid-70s, lots of sunshine, not as much wind as today. Southwest Kansas, look at this warm up. 82 Saturday. 84 Sunday, 82 Monday, and then we'll put in some thunderstorm chances starting on Tuesday. And across northwest Kansas, string of dry days, 80 Sunday, 80 Saturday, 82 Sunday into Monday, and then we'll put in some thunderstorm chances Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe a chance of rain coming up on Thursday. If you're driving out west, you got to stop at the Big Well Museum here in Greensburg. Look at this, the old warning siren, even a weather shelter from back when they used to take weather observations here. A lot about the history of Kiowa County and Greensburg. I'm meteorologist Jay Prater, live from Greensburg for KAKE News.